Hello guys, we are back with our next lecture. In this lecture, let us go through different phases of compiler, guys. So if you ask me, that directly we can say that there are 6 phases of compiler, guys. So those are nothing but lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, code optimization, and target code generation, guys. So the first 3 phases which are having analysis are nothing but the analysis phase, and the bottom 2 are nothing but the synthesis phase, guys. Okay. So now I hope everyone got some idea about the phases of compiler, right? So these are the 6 phases of compiler, and each of those 6 phases are connected with the symbol table manager. Similarly, error handler. Guys, we'll be discussing about each and every module in detail in this lecture, guys. So don't worry. Okay. So phases of compiler. So even if you observe here, you can say that the once output is nothing but the input to the next phase, right? Yes, in that way. So the compilation process is a sequence of various phases. Each phase takes input from its previous stage and has its own representation of the source program. So basically, if you understand the concept behind the compilation process, so the whole process does one thing, guys. So it converts the higher level language to lower level language. So can we directly convert it, guys? No. So in between, you will be representing the same language in different formats, and slowly you will be moving on to the lower level language, guys. So in that way, it will be moving on. Okay. Has its own representation fed into the yes. So we'll be starting with the source program, lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, code optimization, target code generation. At the end, you'll be getting the target code, symbol table, and error handler. Okay. So first, let us go through the first layer, that is nothing but the lexical analysis, guys. So basically, in simple words, you can say that lexical analysis or scanner, guys. So basically, it scans or it identifies the tokens, guys. Okay, so it reads the source code. Like, assume that this is your source code, guys. X is equals to a plus b into 20. So it will be reading x is equals to a plus b into 20 semicolon. In this way, it will be reading. Okay. So reads the source code character by character at a time, left to right. So basically, it will be reading from left to right and convert it into a sequence of atomic units called as tokens, guys. Okay. Yes. So basically, tokens are nothing but the exact representation of these things, guys. So the things that you break into smaller pieces, those are nothing but the tokens. Okay, so if you observe here, x can be divided into a single piece, that is a one token. X is one, equal to is another token, a is one type of token, like that, in that way. Okay. So basically, these tokens are identified, guys. If you want, I can show you an example. Just give me a second. For your better understanding, I can show you an example. Okay. So better let us discuss them there itself only. Okay. So basically, these things or these tokens are divided into multiple categories, guys. So there could be of identifiers, operators, or numbers. Okay. So in this way we divided. So basically, if you observe here, we are having 8 different tokens and 3 different types of token, guys. 3 types of tokens. Okay. So basically, the tool used for identification of these are nothing but the lexical analysis or lex tool, guys. So basically, to create this, we can use the DFA, guys, deterministic finite automata, guys. So basically, we discussed these concepts in ALC, right? Yes. So basically, here, if you observe, those are nothing but some kind of spellings or anything, right? So that is the reason why you can use those DFS and all those things to create these things, guys. We'll be discussing about these things in our future lectures. So just for your understanding, I'm just explaining you those things. Okay. So even a removal of comments, white spaces, and all those things are done by the lexical analyzer only. Okay. Similarly, parser or syntax analysis. So this is the second phase, guys. Okay. So the second phase, here you will be generating some kind of a parse trace, guys. So from the name only, you can say you are analyzing the syntax. So basically, whether it is in correct syntax format or not, that is the main thing, guys. So basically, if you observe, just let us go through an example first. So x is equals to a plus b into 20. Okay, so it looks like everything is perfect, right? So x is equals to a plus b into 20. Okay, so this seems to be syntactically correct, right? Yes. So if you observe here, x is equals to a plus by b. So if you observe here there are two operations or two operators side by side. So basically this is not possible, right? So plus divided by, so there is no operator in that way. So these kind of errors can be identified in this phase, guys. Okay, so this phase groups the tokens that are identified in the previous phase into grammatical phases. Thus, syntax analyzer determines the sequence of tokens are correct or not. So basically the correction is checked here. So basically here you can say that the spelling check will be done, guys. In simple words you can say. Okay, yes. Okay, similarly the next phase is nothing but the semantic analyzer, guys. So semantic analyzer, in simple words you can say here it will be checking the meaning of the statements, guys. So first we divided them into lexemes, then we understood whether their syntax is proper or not. Now we are checking the meaning. Okay, so these are the first three analysis phases, guys. Okay, so a semantic analyzer checks the source code for semantic errors and collects the type information. Okay, so whenever any kind of variable is declared and all those things are done, automatically that data we will be storing in the symbol table, guys. Okay, remember that also. Okay, okay, so for each code generation, and remember that the type checking, so basically assume that you wrote int a is equals to 10. Okay, string x is equals to high. Okay, okay, you wrote that, and at the end you are trying to add them. So int b is equals to a plus x. So you try to add them. So basically adding of a numerical and a string is not possible, right? So that is the reason why this you will be getting an error, right? Yes. So these kind of identification. So if you observe here, if it is not possible. So these kind of things will be identified here, guys. So the type checking is a process of checking whether the type is proper or not. Like adding a float with the int and you are trying to store that in int. So that could also lead to an issue, right? So those kind of things will be checked here. Like the meaning of the exact thing will be checked, guys. In simple words you can say. Okay, yes. The next phase, the fourth phase, is nothing but the intermediate code generation, guys. So basically one thing that you should remember is that we cannot convert directly the source code to the target code, guys, because if you try these kind of things you need to write a different compilers for each operating system or each device, guys, right? Yes, because if you are writing your code in Python and you want to convert into your machine code and your machine is running on i3 6th gen or something, okay, like your system will be having some other configuration and your friend system might have another configuration. So once if you try to copy your machine code and if you give it to your friend to execute it, it might not be executed. So that is the reason why we will be following a standard representation that is nothing but the intermediate code, and that address representation is nothing but 3 address code generation, guys. Okay, so any kind of statement you'll be representing it in terms of 3 addresses only: the first argument, the second argument, and the result storage. So these are the 3 things that you will be storing, guys. We'll be discussing about each and every phase in detail in our future, guys, so don't worry about any kind of confusions. Okay, okay, so here intermediate representation of the final machine language code is generated. T1, if you observe here, x is equals to a plus b into c, right? Okay, so now check the precedence, guys. So basically multiplication should be done first, right? So b into 20, let us assume you stored in T1. Okay, so here we are having 3 addresses, right? So 1, 2 and 3. Yes. So next the precedence is nothing but a plus this result, right? So a plus this result is nothing but T1. Okay, so again store it in T2. At the end push this or store this T2 in X. At the end you got the result. So in this way, so these kind of statements any kind of statement can be represented in a 3 address code, guys. Okay, okay, so that is nothing but the intermediate code generation, and then you will be optimizing the code, guys, the code optimization. Okay, so code optimization is nothing but here you will be removing the unwanted steps, guys, like any kind of a dead code. So basically you can never reach to there, guys. So that point is nothing but the dead code, guys, like any kind of repetition statements like subsequence, common subsequence. So assume that you are doing x is equals to a plus b and you are doing y is equals to a plus b. So indirectly you are doing, okay, let me write it here, so that a plus b and y is also equals to a plus b. So here you are doing a plus b 2 times. What is the need of it, guys? So you can just reduce it to a plus b, y is equals to x, right? So in this way, so this is nothing but the code optimization, guys. In simple words you can say. Okay, similarly the final stage is nothing but the target code generation, guys. Okay, so here the final code is converted into the machine level language or the assembly level language as per the requirement of the compiler. Okay, so basically we cannot write any kind of example for machine code because it is just random ones and zeros. So basically the computer can understand, but for us it is just a random number of strings of 1 and 0. So here I have just written a small example for the assembly code, guys. So x is equals to a plus a b into 20. Okay, so initially we will be storing the value of a b in a register 1. So because we need to do this operation, right? So we are storing this b in register 1, that is nothing but move r1 comma b. Okay, similarly what is in b, it will be stored in r1. Okay, similarly the second step is nothing but you can multiply them. So r1 is equals to r1 into 20. Okay, so then you will be multiplying it mul r1 into 20. Okay, then you will be adding it with a, add r1 comma a, r1 is equals to r1 plus a. At the end you will be storing it in x. So store r1 in x. Done. X is equals to r1. So in this way, guys, if you recall, we did this kind of programming in MPI, guys, my microcontrollers, guys. When we discussed about those things, we discussed about this kind of programming, right? Yes, assembly code. Okay, so I hope everyone got some basic idea about all the 6 phases of compiler, right? Okay, so along with these 6 phases, we are having 2 different tables or 2 different things which are directly connected to each and every phase of compiler, right? Yes. So symbol table. So the first thing is symbol table and the other is error handler, guys. So symbol table. The symbol table is nothing but it is a data structure in which way it contains the details or the metadata about the variables, functions and all those things, guys. So whatever you are defining inside your program, it might be a function, procedure, variable, constant or anything, guys. So all these details will be stored in this symbol table, guys. So the symbol table contains the information related to identifiers used in the program, such as the functions, variables, constants and data types. Okay, and their data types. So basically each and every phase of the compiler is connected with the symbol table. Yes. Okay, so if you take, guys, we'll be discussing about the representations, the data structures and all those things in our future lectures. So for now, let us go through a small example. So int a, symbol table id is nothing but a and attribute is nothing but its attribute is nothing but data type is. Okay, yes. So similarly here we gave int a is equals to 10. So here I think it should be value. Okay, so symbol id is equals to a and attribute is equals to int value is equals to 10 in this way. So the table will be represented in this way, guys. Okay. Okay. Similarly, error handling. So error handling, from the name only you can say it is nothing but to identify the errors. So basically if some kind of semicolon is missed, you need to get some kind of error. If you wrote typecasting errors like that, there are multiple types of errors, right? So those types of errors will be stored here and they will be printed when as per our requirements. Okay. Okay. So detecting and correcting the errors in the source code is the most important functionality of a compiler. So basically whenever you are writing any kind of coding exams, when you compile your program, it will not be saying you the line number and all those things, right? So in that situation, you'll be getting frustrated, like where is the error? You will be searching and you cannot find. But whereas the standard compilers, when you use in your PC, you can directly identify the line number. So it will be saying a line, colon, a line number. So in this way, you can identify. So these kind of things are done with the help of this error handler, guys. So in each and every phase of the compilation, errors can be detected. These are nothing but the compilation errors, guys. So whenever you are compiling the program, you'll be getting these kind of errors. So if you take a small example, so the lexical error might be nothing but the misspelling, guys. So assume that you wanted to write int, but due to your typo, you wrote in only. So in space x semicolon. So here t is missing. So these kind of errors are nothing but lexical errors, guys. So if you recall, in lexical analyzer, I told that we will be identifying the spellings, right? Yes. So that the spellings will be identified here. Okay. Similarly, syntactic errors. So syntactic errors are nothing but some kind of missing things, guys. So here you missed a semicolon. Here you missed the circular bracket at the end. So these kind of missing things can be identified by the syntax errors, guys. Similarly, semantic errors. I told you, right? So the type checking, mismatches and all those things. So here you wrote int x is equals to 99.99. Will it be valid, guys? No, you'll be getting an error there. So in these kind of errors are nothing but the semantic errors. Okay. Similarly, logic errors. So logical errors are nothing but whenever you are going to infinite loops, out of bound errors and all those things, those comes under the logical errors. Okay. So infinite loops code cannot be reached. Okay. So here you wrote while of one print lol. So here this will be printed again and again, guys. Okay, so in that way. Okay. Okay. So I hope everyone got some basic idea about different phases of compiler, right? So in the next lecture, we'll be going through two examples, guys, and we will be converting that particular expression into the machine code, guys. So basically, we will be working as a compiler for the first time, guys, in the next lecture. Okay. So that we will be getting a clear idea on this topic. Okay. Okay, so let us meet in the next lecture. Thank you. Thanks for watching.